right, looks like we're live. What's up, everybody? Let's get this link out. Tweet it, share it in telegrams. We on. TechSec says all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That's funny. Let's share this link. Let's pump the link. What's up, everybody? TechSec says thanks for all that you do. Hey, man, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Are you TechSec that I met in Vegas? I think last year. There's someone wearing a TechSec. I thought it was like a denim shirt with TechSec embroidered on it or something. Is that you? If not, it would be cool to get a embroidered denim jacket that said TechSec. I'd probably get a embroidered denim jacket that says New Mexico. Xographer said he shared the stream link. Awesome. TechSec said I was in Vegas. There's three of us. Bunch of Hexicans, Hex-Texicans, Hex-Flexicans, New Hexicans. There's a whole gamut. All right, so we'll get started. I'm not going to stream for too long today, but I just wanted to go through some of just the math behind how to think about team staking. Because the big question that everyone's asking themselves as team is preparing to launch is, will it be worth it to park your MAXI and earn your team? And that's a big question. And it's, it's on one hand, it's hard to answer because it's hard to predict what the team price itself will be, because that's the main driver in your ROI on team is going to be just the underlying team price. The yield is like a bonus, but the main ROI driver is going to be the team price. But people still do care about the yield comparison to, holding MAXI or just staking on your own. And so we'll go through that. Yesterday, I actually I don't know why I didn't really realize this earlier, but I really boiled down what the equation is for the team staking earnings, like just what the total earnings is per pool. And I tweeted that out. So here, why don't I share that? And because this is what we'll be discussing today. So here, let me share my screen. So what I tweeted yesterday was, and if you don't follow me already, follow me at search Dipcatcher on Twitter or Tantonomini. What I tweeted yesterday, so here, let's just go to my profile. So I was tweeting about this. Estimating the team earnings from the perpetual pools is actually a very simple equation. And so basically all it is the basic stake calculation times the amount that the team contract gets paid from the bigger pays better bonus. And so what you're really calculating is you're calculating the T-shares that the bigger pays better bonus virtual hex get, and the earnings from those T-shares over that period of time is the earnings for team. So the way you calculate that is you have the days staked times the average payout per T share that you can estimate times the bigger pays better virtual hex. So that is the hex, like when you go to hex.com, it shows the effective hex from the bigger pays better and longer pays better. The bigger pays better one is the number that's shown there. And it's up to 10% of the total principal. And then you multiply all those numbers together, and then you divide by 2 times the share rate. So if you remove the 2, that is the, and you just divide by the share rate, then what that means is like that's just the earnings for those T shares. And since the bigger, and so that's effectively the bigger pays better earnings for the total stake. And since Team splits those bigger pays better earnings with the perpetual pools, it gets half of it. So that's where that 2 comes in from. So it's a really simple equation that has one unknown. The only unknown is that average payout per T share. And so, if we go to apphex.win, and then we connect, or we look at the charts. So this website, among others, have the daily payout per T share right here. And so it's a pretty constant rate. It grows with the inflation, but it's countered by increased staking. But what I learned today when I was looking at Hexfire, which I'm not going to go into because I could do a whole stream on this stuff I'm learning from hexfire.io. But, the share rate is actually staying pretty constant. So that's the only thing that the only unknown in this equation. So here, let me zoom in so you can see even closer. The only unknown in this equation is that average payout per T share. So that's really so for the, when you're estimating these, the only unknown, I guess, so the only unknown that's like really unpredictable is that, but also the other variable in this equation is the pool principal. And it's because where in this equation, where this final thing you multiply by is that bigger pays better virtual hex, that bigger pays better virtual hex is the pool principal squared divided by 10 times 150 million if the pool principal is less than 150 million. But if the pool principal is greater than 150 million, the bigger pays better virtual hex is simply the pool principal divided by 10. And so it is a pretty simple equation. And if you even further simplify it, so right here, I said team earnings per perpetual pool is even simpler if you include an assumption that the pool will max out the bigger pays better bonus. So assuming that the pool principal is greater than 150 million hex, the team earnings are days staked times average payout per T share times pool principal divided by 20 times the share rate. And so in this case, the 2 unknowns that you can toggle around and make predictions on to estimate how much team earns from each pool cycle, you just run this equation. So it's actually it's earlier on in discussion, and even in a recent cryptographic stream, he had noted that he thought that it was kind of confusing about, I think his word was murky about like how much team would be earning. But if you just guess the pool print, like if you, the main driver in this is the pool principal, because the average payout per T share, that can't really change by much, like especially over a short period of time. Like, you look at that, like it's probably going to be around 6.2 over a year. So that's not really, there's maybe not a lot of wiggle room on the payout, but on the pool principal, there's actually massive variability that could occur. So on your estimation, that's the main driver. Like that, the bottom line, and it's so simple. Team earnings are big when the pool principal is big. Team earnings are small when pool principal is small. And so holding team and staking team, that is, by doing that, you are predicting that you think that there's going to be high demand to hold staked hex through these perpetual pools. And so, and there is good evidence of that because MAXI was a massive success where people pooled together. There's massive gas savings. That's going to be tens of millions of dollars of gas saved. That's money that's kept in the HEX economy. And it brings that liquidity bonus that a lot of people have been able to exercise and experience, already like a 2x growth in their on their position measured in HEX. And so they're able to sell. And so it has the gas savings benefit, it has the liquidity benefit. And so, there's all, pretty big indicators that, these perpetual pools are going to be a success. They came about because people asked for them. Everyone's like, when's a 10-year stake? When is there a 3-year stake? And so people were asking for all these pools, and the user benefits versus staking on your own, compared to staking these pools, you really benefit a lot from it. And so if you think that these perpetual pools are going to be successful, if you think this pool principal value is going to grow, then that means that the team earnings are going to grow. And as the team earnings grow, the team supply does not grow. Team supply is fully fixed. After the launch phase, that is the most team that will ever exist. So what happened, and over time, do you think that more people are going to be wanting to, the second time the base stake rolls around, do you think there's going to be more people joining or leaving? Like, do you think there's going to be more growth in those pools? And I mean, even if people just roll forward their existing stake, if it starts at 150 million, then after, if it earns 10% in that first year, then that puts us at 165 million in that next one. So even from there, that team earnings is going to grow, just as a result of the pool principal growing. It is countered by the share rate because during that time, the share rate also ratchets up. But so basically, in order for the team earnings to grow, the team holder, like for an individual pool, the team holders are incentivized to grow these pools at a faster rate than the difference between the size of the pool, like the earnings of the pool relative to the share rate increasing. And so shorter stakes will have to, onboard more. Longer stakes will, because they keep up with the share rate more. Those aren't quite as heavily incentivized, but the bottom line is that big pool principal means big team earnings. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a calculator, because I have a spreadsheet that I've been working on that, kind of shows all this information. But I wanted to put that onto just because we already wanted to have it on the team website, like some type of estimator for team yield, so people could get a sense of it. So I think we'll go over some of these numbers just on a spreadsheet, but then I think we'll want to actually just like put this up on a calculator that you guys can use. So let's visit the chat. Let's see if anyone has anything to say. Tex Hex says, hope to meet you in Vegas at PulseCon. Yeah, I'll be there. Abbott, what's up, dude? We should talk about the golf tournament. I may want to do it. How about the spoonfuls? That's right. Yo, what up, brother? Let's go team. Yup. Thank you for all your efforts. Hey, thank you for all your efforts. Strength. That's right. Summer Solstice says, hey, at all. What's diff between Wasta and team? Both good. What's Wasta better at? I'm not sure, actually. So Wasta has fixed supply, like the total number minted is going to be fixed, like team. But with Wasta, if I'm correct, you can't redeem your rewards without burning your Wasta. And so whereas team, you can realize your rewards as they come in. Every year when you stake team, you can you can claim those rewards even if you continue to be staked. So there's no relation in team. There's no relationship between the stake itself and the claiming of the rewards. But on in Wasta, if I'm correct, someone correct me if I'm wrong. But it's like you have to and that's part of the game theory is that you can't get them until once you're out, you're out. So and then that does drive up the future earnings for those users. Wasta, they're earning Hedron and Icosa. So your returns are driven by the prices of Hedron and Icosa. And so, Icosa is probably, honestly, Icosa is probably going to be a lot like base or trio, kind of just ratcheting up with the share rate, or at least that being like the price ceiling. Because if the Icosa price was to get higher than than like that threshold for you to mint, where the Icosa is worth more than the hex that you minted into, that kind of drives the price back down to that threshold. And so Icosa grows as a function of share rate, and the perpetual pools grow as a function, where their maximum growth is kind of capped by the max earnings per T share. So they're kind of related in that way. So Icosa will probably be kind of like that. And with Icosa, the earnings just are from the mechanisms that produce the Hedron and the Icosa. Whereas with Team, the earnings come from these individual hex pools, which could get infinitely large. Like these pools really could become really massive, and the the underlying token that you hold Team, it's not necessarily only bound by what it's like worth or redeemable for. It has its own supply and demand dynamics because of the staking, which removes the circulating supply of Team, and because it over time gets burnt. It's kind of similar to Watsa in that way, but Team can really be Team has kind of unbound potential, and then its earnings come in hex and also Hedron. A big component of the Team earnings is the Hedron, and there's the MAXI rebate involved, and what other mysterious sources of income that may arrive to Team stakers. So I think that the Team income is a little bit more diverse, and I think that the supply dynamics of Team are a little bit more positive than Watsa, and I think that that Team is probably going to outperform Watsa, but Watsa will probably be a lot like base, is what I'm guessing. But that's who knows. And I wouldn't say that I'm like one of the crazed game theory experts on Icosa. Like I definitely deep dived and definitely learned everything I could about the mechanics to see one, to see how we could integrate and integrate that into Team. We're thinking about adding Icosa to the supported tokens. But we definitely have a big interest in Hedron because MAXI is going to be at the end of that stake, the MAXI stake is going to be one of the largest holders of Hedron, and also because the Team contract gets all the Hedron from the perpetual pools. We definitely care about the Hedron ecosystem. So definitely trying to keep learning more, but that's kind of how I compare the two. I think the trio is my favorite because it comes out at the top of the 2025 bull cycle. What say you? So I think it's impossible to predict when the bull cycles are going to come. So I think that rather than trio being your favorite because it comes out at the top of the 2025 bull cycle, probably a better way to think about that is that because it comes out every 3 years, the chances of it landing on, kind of in the bull cycle are pretty high. Because if the crypto cycles run on these 4-year cycles, but you don't necessarily know during what year the top is going to be, then over a 12-year period, that 3-year stake ends at a different part of that 4-year period. And so you can have the trio stake ending across different, it'll phase across different time periods in the stake or in the market cycle. So that's why I like trio. It's kind of what you're saying, but rather than for the timing of it, because you don't know what the price is going to be in 2025, but that maybe on average there's kind of these cycles that happen every 3 to 4 years. And so by holding Trio, you're giving yourself a good chance to have a big liquidity event at the time of max FOMO. So yeah, I like Trio, and also like Lucky for that reason. Similar reason for Lucky as well. I love messing around with calculators. Yeah, we'll do that. DMA, if you want to go to the tournament, make sure you go to the same parties. Claiming my Hedron tonight for the first time. Baby steps. Yeah, Hedron's awesome. That was definitely an awesome thing to one day see that Hedron that you just got for free really mooning. When exactly on staking Trio and Lucky? So like 3 years and then 7 years. I don't know. You'll have to. It all depends when it launches and then how many days. Is staking team a variable in time lock, or is it just stake for the 1 year and that's it, or keep liquid? Yeah. So when you start your stake, you commit to serving for until the end of the next year. So, but you can early end stake, but you pay a 3.69% penalty, and then you don't get the rewards from the days that you served. So, so what I expect people to do is probably keep some balance of their liquid and staked team, because if you even think that if the price pumps and you may want to early end stake some team to sell into the pump, then you probably just want to keep that liquid in the first place. And so, yeah, that's probably how that'll play out. I'll redeemable for Hex in the end and Hedron. I need a flow chart. I tweeted you actually don't. So I want to push back on that. You should try to understand things without a flow chart. You should think about them in terms of like just like a narrative. But I do have some type of flow chart here of a compounding team flywheel effect. So if team price goes up, then early end stakers sell the pump. The early end stake causes the team supply to go down, the earnings per team staked for that period to go up a lot, all future earnings per team staked to go up a little bit. And now, since there's less team supply, it's easier for the price to go up. And so those team stakers, they claim their rewards that come in Hex, mainly in Hex, Hedron, and MAXI, and they use it to buy more team and stake it. That causes the team price to go up. Team price going up could cause early stakers to sell into the pump. So that's this flywheel effect that could happen if people roll their earnings. They're coming every year in Hex and Hedron. And then a couple of years, you're going to get multiple ones, like when Base and Trio ended in the same year, or Base and Lucky Trio, Trio Deci, Lucky Deci, Trio Lucky Deci Base. Like when every so often there's going to be years that have massive earnings. So those team stakers, if they roll, like it all comes down to what they do with those earnings. And are they going to want to buy more teams so they can get more of those earnings in the future? So that's one of the staking dynamics at play here, is that price going up could cause people to early end stake, and also likewise, price going down can also cause people to early like panic selling. So here I say that so what I show here is just like a obvious estimate of team price and team supply. And then each of these sections here are just these stake years. So, right after a staking period starts, maybe that's when we see, some downturns in the market on the team price, because at that point, everyone who bought in order to lock into the stake period, it's like they've already bought, so, and then also people that were staked in the prior period but did not roll forward their stake, now they have a bunch of liquid team and maybe they're selling. So there's the reduced demand because like everyone who bought to lock in already bought recently, and so you just kind of got to wait it out. Then also the people that didn't stake but staked the last time, they retrieve their team and then they could be selling. And So, and just like the general market dynamics could be causing, sellers. And so, as a result, price goes down, and the that may cause people who are panic selling team, who have staked team, it may cause them to early end stake. So whenever there's an early end stake, a time where it's likely that there's a lot of early end staking, I highlighted in orange. And you see here, like when you look at this team supply, it starts out at the maximum, and then it slowly dwindles down. And then times that where there's a lot of early end staking, you see big dramatic changes in that, which I tried to show. Here's where I probably showed it the best. Like in this event, there may be a lot of early end staking. And so, but on the other hand, like in addition to big early end staking events being caused by team bear markets that may be timed up with like the couple weeks or months after the base stake starts, so after the staking period starts, as buyers for the next period start pushing the team price up, and people who are preparing to get into the next period, especially if the next period has a big MAXI 369 rebate scheduled, or if it has like DESI scheduled next year to end, and so the payout from DESI gets paid to people that stake in that year. So during years where people are expecting that the following year to be a big have big staker payouts, we may see the team price running up, as people are buying to prepare to stake. But then, as the team price rises, then people that are already staked, they may have experienced such a large rise in the value of their team that they're willing to tolerate a 3.69% early end stake penalty. And so they early end stake, and then so they can sell into this pump and kind of restore it back to, kind of like a less out of the ordinary price level. And so over time, as the market goes through these cycles of, early end staking in a bear market and then early end staking in a bull market, the end result is after that full complete cycle, the team supply is much less than what it was before. And so now these cycles could be even further exacerbated because, now there's just like suddenly less team to be bid on in the market. And there's also suddenly less team to be competing for the stake rewards. And so the marketable APY, so the earnings per team staked, that can be going up because the total amount of possible teams staked could be trending down. And so, these market cycles, related to the team staking rules, that's really important. And then, kind of the big driver in, how much people think are going to be, how much people think that, they're going to be earning from staking. It really comes down to those, those earnings, and then how many people are staked in those periods. So that's kind of, those are some two, I guess, not flow charts, but just kind of narratives that I put out yesterday. So go check those out, to kind of and try to understand those, because that kind of tells you a lot about how the whole system works. You mint your team and then you stake it. And if you stake for a whole year, you get paid the earnings that came into the team contract from that year. And it's just that simple. Can you talk about the 1 million MAXI that got burned? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty exciting. That can be taken, a couple ways. One, maybe that's just like a way, so if you had a bunch of MAXI other than that, maybe the act of you burning it causes, the market to react to that in a positive way that boosts the value of your remaining MAXI by a greater amount than what you burnt. Maybe that's one way. It got a lot of people talking about it. So I think, it's a pretty good marketing technique, I think it was like 1/25 of the MAXI or something at the time. And so that is, so you're eating like a 4% loss, but if that resulted in 4% more participation because people were talking about it, then that's a net win. It could be, just like a signal that, to people that are minting with other coins, that it's a possibility that that Hedron deployer address, or the flow, or whatever it's called, is willing to burn those coins. And so, people may be more likely to participate. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty awesome. What that does is that's actually very bullish for team, because the those maxi that are burnt now cannot be minted into team. And what we'll see when we make that the calculator about team earnings, one of the factors in there is on for the value of how many like the earnings per team staked. It comes down to the amount of maxi that's minted, and so that million maxi that just got burnt, that cannot possibly be minted into team. And so for you as just like a separate individual, if you're minting team with your maxi, you're now a little bit more competitive. You're 0.3% more competitive for the team earnings because that maxi cannot possibly be minted. And so that's it was pretty cool to see. That was the biggest burn in history. I remember on a stream when I was showing that you could burn, that it. I burnt like, I don't know, like 3 maxi or something tiny, and now up the ante. So we'll see how much gets burnt from the team minting. It's what's not Wasta. What's up, man? I'm the Wastafarian. What's up? Be connect. Oh my gosh, that was honestly like probably my that was the big connect thing was one of the pivotal moments of my crypto journey, because I was like probably like 6 months in at that time, and that was just like such a hallmark of the times. Oak still says elongated cycle may even align with Lucky. Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, these stakes are ending every year, every 3 years, every 7 years. So like a cycle is going to line up, and even if it doesn't, like, who cares? Let's end Trio and Lucky Stakes in August, September. So I'm probably not like, I'm going to set dates, and I'm not really going to pay too much mind to like exactly when they end. Like that'll just kind of, because it'll cycle over the periods, and it doesn't really matter. And that's just going to be, part of the game theory in it. So I'm probably not going to try to shoot for targets on ending on when they end. If I stake team from the start and I want to add more team for period 3, aka second year, which I stake in period 2, can I still roll over my initial stake? Okay, so what that means is that you staked into year 1, and then once year 1 started, you stake again. So now you have 2 stakes. You have one stake where the stake ID is, or like the stake year is 1, and then you have another stake which is your stake year is 2. So those 2 stakes are fully independent from each other. And so if you roll forward your initial stake, you're rolling that forward. So now your that first stake you made has stake credits for year 1 and for year 2. And you rolling forward your stake from your first stake, that has nothing to do with that new stake that you made later on. Those are held in 2 separate stakes. And so yeah, they're fully separate. But then when it comes time to claim your rewards from year 2, you will run let me just pull it up. So when you go to claim your rewards, you'll have a stake ID that's going to be 1, and then another stake ID that's actually going to be 3. So those are going to be your 2 stakes. And then the stake period that they both shared is going to be period 3. So what you'll do after period 3 ends, so meaning after year 2 ends, you'll come into here, you'll run, not into here, you'll go onto the dashboard, and you'll run claim rewards for period 3 for all the coins. So say, there's going to be Hex. So you'll run it for Hex, you'll run it for Hedron. And so you'll run it once. So stake ID 1, period 3 for Hex, you hit transact. And then you'll do the same for stake ID 3, period 3, because both stake ID 1 and stake ID 3 will have claimable rewards from period 3. So great question. That's honestly an excellent question. And that's exactly how it's designed, to where you can, be rolling forward your initial stake, but always adding new to adding new team to stake, and so they're just handled separately, and then you'll get rewards from both of those stakes per that period. And then they don't get combined. So like what basically the way it works is that you have like a stake will here. So when you start your stake, I'm literally going to draw this. You start with an amount, and so here, let me just draw it, and then I'll explain. So I don't know if you can see this, but when, oh my God, I may have just given myself a crazy paper cut on my chin. Dear God. Hope not. If I start bleeding out, yeah, so I hear. So when you start your stake, oh God, I don't know if you can see this. So starting the stake, it's like so this is the period before the stake deadline starts. So that's what this line is. So when you add your stake, it's like whatever amount you started at, like your amount staked starts there, but then you can always add to it before it starts. And then over time, that's your amount. It can never go up, but it can go down. So right here, I don't know if you can even see it. So right here is where you may early end stake. And then when that period ends, then when you unstake it, like the amount staked then goes down to 0 because you've ended that stake. And so like each stake is just like a bundle of team that you can then manage as you roll them forward. You can end them, you can early end them, you can restake expired. So for each period that you stake into, that's its own stake, and then you manage them all separately. And so, yeah, there may be multiple transactions, but there is a way to consolidate them if you just like rather than rolling forward during a stake period, you wait until the stake period ends, and then rather than clicking roll forward, you click restake expired, and then that will bundle up your stakes into the new period. So there is a way to rebundle them if you continue to add new team into each staking period, and you're rolling forward old team. There is a way that you can kind of bundle those together. But those are some great questions. Thank you so much. Will says, would it make sense to deploy on ETH POW and ETH 2.0 if they actually do the merge next month? Maxi, yes, absolutely. We want both. I'm a big supporter of ETH POW, and I'm actually really excited because honestly, like Hex could just take over ETH POW, and where kind of how we have Pulse Chain, which is like really like a Hex centric proof of stake layer 2, and then we have ETH 2.0, which is going to be who knows what, and then we also have ETH POW that all the Hexicans are already familiar with, already love. And if the main problems of ETH are fees, and if most of the network moves away from it, then the fees on ETH POW are going to be really low. So we could have two, and the ETH 2.0 fees are not going down. So we could have ETH 2.0, which has regular high fees, and then ETH POW and Pulse Chain, which are like lower fee. So we could have like this 3-headed Hexican dragon across the 3 chains, and honestly, that could be the big life-changing thing for all of us. So I'm a big proponent of ETH PO3, and because it turns into MAXI on 3 chains. So if we have 6 coins on 3 chains and then 6 factorial liquidity pool tokens on 3 chains, it's gonna be crazy. If staked, what will happen when PLS releases? Will there be another P team stake automatically? Yeah, if the whole system state is being copied over, so our stake state is. And yeah, that's the answer to that question too. Boost me almost half T-share. That's cool. That's after the what's a burn. Yeah. All right, let's make this calculator. So let's remove that. Let's pull this open, and I'm going to try to finish this in like 30 minutes. Okay, so maybe I was on the right one. Actually, okay, so here, I'm going to first pull up my spreadsheet first, and then we're going to. I was playing around with this earlier, but yeah. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so this is, so I had this bigger one that, you know, and I covered this on, I made this on my stream a couple weeks ago, but pretty much the way it, you know, so this one, it factors in like how much MAXI's minted into team and what percent is staked. And then it calculates the earnings, the team earnings, you know, based on all that. And so rather than trying to come up with just like the team earnings per hex, because those are truly unknown, like it's kind of stupid to even think about what those are, because it's entirely based on the number of MAXI that's minted. So rather than thinking about the team earnings per, or the earnings per team staked, let's just think about these top line team earnings. So I made a copy of this here. And so that, like, by removing the estimation of, I mean, even though I did keep it, so I mean, realistically, it's still here, but I kind of reduced the scope of this calculator. But yeah, so this is the calculator that I have so far here. It lets you, so here, let me zoom in so we can, maybe I can just zoom in. Yeah, okay. So let's make this smaller so we can fit it all on one screen. And this will make smaller too. Okay. So, so basically all you have to do is, you know, and enter information into these principles, because these are the big drivers of it. And then this gives you the hex earnings. So that's the equation. It's, you know, just the equation we put into here. And then, so so why don't we make some estimations on like, so here in the chat, everyone reply, what percent of the total MAXI supply, so 293 million, what percent of 293 million is going to get minted into team? And then say, you know, of the total team supply, what percent gets staked? So in the chat, reply with two percentages. One is percent of MAXI minted, and then the other one is percent of team staked. And then also, okay, here, everyone put in 4 predictions. Put in percent of MAXI minted into team staking percentage, principal. Let's just start with base. So then give me a principal value for base, and then what you think the average payout per T-share is going to be over the next year. And then we're going to run some numbers. Okay, he says 30, he says 20. I don't know what you mean by that, but so, okay, so 10% and then 85%. So keep in mind the team staking percentage, that is the amount of team that is successfully staked for a full period. And it includes the mystery box. So the mystery box gets a copy of team. And so, you know, at the start, the mystery box starts with half the supply, and then all the minters have the other half. So it's just a fair split down the middle like that. And so, you know, so 85% would suggest that the mystery box is also staking 85%. So, you know, So keep that in mind. So you have 10%, 85, we have 20, 90, 30, 90, 15, 14, 25, 80, 15%, 99, 12, 30, average. Okay. So here, let's just run through some of these. So we'll do keto natural. So if 10% is minted and 85% is staked, and what do we say? Okay, let's just do the baseline principle. So with a 150 million stake, so that'd be about half the size that MAXI was. So that would be pretty modest. We hope it's a lot larger. But so from this base stake, the hex earnings are 734,000 hex to all of team. And so that means that each team earned 0.01 hex. So during that one period. So if 85, so then the total value of your team during that year is the team times the amount of team that you staked times 0.014 plus the value of your team. And so what do you think the team price would be if 85% of it was staked? So that's the big unknown there, is like, what does the stake rate do? And so what we'll probably see is something like, so low stake percentage, medium stake percentage, large stake percentage, and then we have low. What's a good way to think about this? We're trying to think about like the stake percentage versus like how the stake percentage impacts the price. So here we'll do low, so small perpetuals, small perps, medium perps, and large perps. So that and that would suggest earnings, because that's the top line earnings. Then this is like how many that they're divisible over. So if we have small earnings and low stake percentage, it's going to be low, but then it's split over a small number of people. So maybe that's like a medium earning, so medium value. Then if we have small perps over a medium stake percentage, then it's going to be, low value. So, these values in here, that's the earnings per team staked. And then, so if the pools are small and everyone's staked, that's going to be really low value. Medium perps with low staking percentage, that's going to be large. Medium and medium is going to be medium. And then medium and large, that's going to be low. Now, if we have large perps and low staking, that's going to be huge earnings. Large and medium stake is going to be large earnings. And then large perps and large stake percentage is going to be medium earnings. So here, these ones are all earnings. But if we were to, but with low stake percentage at the same time, so we'll break this off. So over here, if we're looking at team price, if the team stake percentage is low, that means there's lots of liquid team. And so lots of liquid team means lots of team that could be sold at any time. So maybe that's low team price. If there's medium staked, medium team price. If there's lots of team staked, that's high team price. And so the main driver of your ROI as a participant is going to be the team price. The earnings are just a bonus, but the earnings do impact how much people are going to demand team. So best case scenario is that we have um, large perps and large staking percentage. Like we want these pools to be so big that they're so lucrative to participate in, that so many people stake that there's basically no team for sale. And so, that's kind of, there's kind of a like an ebb and flow to it based on how much team is staked versus how big those pools are. And then that's kind of what drives it there. Um, so let's do some more of your guys' estimates. So 20%, 90. So here, that's going to be even smaller because now there's more maxi and more of it is, or more team and more of it is staked. So that would put the hex per team staked. So let's just sum up. And so this would be the earnings for the first stake of all of these, because one thing to keep in mind is that so like during a 15-year period, there's going to, or at least during the first 10 years, there's going to be 10 base stakes, 3 trio stakes, 1 lucky and 1 deci. So, that makes sense that the base ones are smaller because they're going to be earning repeatedly. They're probably not going to be as high as trio over 3 years, but it's still going to be earning. So another way to think about these is, or like as a more direct comparison to maxi, viewing this as like a 15-year estimate. And so if you just project forward the current earnings, if you just imagine that all the T shares from the base stake are then repeated. So what that would mean is that all the base principal plus earnings is just rolled forward into the next base stake. And then also the base stake grows by the amount that the T-share rate grew relative to how much yield the base stake earned. So base stake earns 11%, and then the T-share rate grew by 15% over that year. Then, in order for this to keep the same number of T-shares, it would be require additional people to join the base pool. So assuming same number of T-shares and same payout per T-share is actually a fine assessment to make, because that's estimating that the team stakers are going to be incentivized to grow these pools. And then every year on base, they have a chance to grow new pools. As people's old stakes become liquid, they can restake through base. And so, making the assumption that the pools grow year on year at a rate equal to how much the T-share rate grows, then the earnings over one pool could be repeated over all of them. So under that assumption, just to make the math easy, let's see what 15 times that is going to be. And then, so there's 15 base stakes over a 15-year period. There's going to be 5 trio stakes over that period. There's going to be 2 lucky stakes over that period. And then there's going to be 1 deci stake over that period. And so with, relatively low mint rate and then high stake rate, the total earnings for a team that's staked throughout that whole entire period comes out to be like 0.3. And so, that is pretty low. But if the stake rate was so high, then what does that mean for the team value? So high stake rate means lower earnings, but that it makes it easier for the price to go up with every new buyer because there's suddenly less available. And then if the price goes up, then some of this can get unstaked. And so 90% stake rate would actually be pretty shocking. Because that would, actually, I'm not going to say that. Mystery box can stake or not stake, whatever they choose. So 90% would be really high. Like that would be shockingly high. So let's see what other guesses people had. 15 and 14. So that's actually very reasonable. Staking team may actually be pretty small. So 15% minted and 14% staked. that puts a, and then these, oh, wait, duh. Okay. So I didn't even get that. Okay. Ignore. So we're going to say 150 million for all of them, or 150 million at the start, just to make the, so that's why those look so small. Okay. Um, so yeah, putting the, so having, 15% stake rate and 14%, that puts those earnings per team staked at like 3.2. Um, and that's pretty competitive. I mean, that's like, if we think that the maxi, that one maxi is going to be redeemable, here I even have the estimate right here. Redeemable hex per maxi. Um, okay, so that's this includes the maxi rebate, which in this estimate we're only talking about the hex yield. We're not talking about the earnings during that time. But if we think that the end maxi redemption rate based on that daily payout per T share is going to be about 6, then you know, and your team during that same period earned you half of that, as long as your team outperformed Maxi by only if team only achieved a 2x in price relative to Maxi, then that's like break even there. So, but since team has potentially unbounded upside, and the growth in the pools causes more lucrative staking, which means increased demand for team, which means less team circulating supply. The act of these pools growing can really push team into that area where you outperform just holding your maxi. And so that's what I'm really hoping to make, to give people the information to make their own predictions on, how much is going to get minted, how much is going to get staked, how much hex it's all going to earn, and how much the of the maxi is redeemable. During that rebate, when that 30% of the maxi is given back to team stakers. Like even alone, like even with what this shows is that even with really small stake percentages, the that the amount of hex or the amount of maxi rebated to you is could be greater than what you put in, because like if this was 100%, that's that 15, because 30% of all the maxi is rebated, and mystery box gets half the team. So if everyone's staked and everyone, including the mystery box, staked during years 3, 6, and 9, the total maxi returned to the the team stakers would be 0.5. But if that number was down low where that person had it at, like I think they said 14%, if this team staking percentage is sufficiently low, there could be the event where the people that do stake end up getting more maxi than they put in. So like with very low, so that's kind of the downside cap of how low the team staking percentage could be, is like, everyone's going to be like, if you can basically get the max, if the team stakers are basically getting the maxi back for free, then everyone's going to want to stake, and that's going to drive that number up. But if that team staking percentage is sufficiently low during the years that the maxi rebate occurs, then you could end up with more maxi than you started with, and you're earning all the hex, and the team itself value is appreciating. So you're like by staking team, you're earning income in other high growth coins that aren't team, and then the team itself has its own supply and demand, and so the team value is kind of unbounded by the value of the yield. And so best case scenario for team stakers is that that there's like a nice equilibrium where the earnings are on the high end of modest, and that drives a lot of buyers of team, which causes a lot of staking, and as the price goes up, it causes unstaking and causes kind of that loop we're showing with the early end stake as a result of price pumping. So that's like a best case scenario, I think, would be that. So let's do one more, and then let's see if anyone had any questions. 12% of MAXI, 30% team staked. So that I actually think is a pretty good estimate of what will actually happen. So in that case, if we have 12% of MAXI minted and then 30%, then that puts it at 1.86 hex earned over that period, and plus half of the MAXI back. So if you got half your MAXI back, and if MAXI we're estimating at 6, and at the same time you earned 1.86 hex, then that means that in total you earned 3 plus 1.86 hex over that 15-year period, plus the hedgerin, plus just the the value of your team. And so that's going to be the the big differentiator is going to be just how much that team value grows, and then how much these grow. Like art. And also, I mean, just to show an example of the drivers of this, what if this, if these stakes are rather than 150, what if these are the same size as MAXI? So it's 294, 123, 123. So if all of these pools are the same size as MAXI, then that 15-year earnings estimate is, up there at like 3.65. What if we have, 500 million? We see that really starting to creep up. So yeah, I mean, the big unknowns are the like what percent is minted and what percent is staked. The like kind of medium unknowns are the principal, and then like the thing that's like not so much of an unknown, it's fairly predictable, is the average payout per T share. So yeah, it can really vary, but I mean, again, bottom line, big pools, big payout. Big pools, big payout. You guys know the drill. Sandy says, thank you for helping me out yesterday. Of course. One more question. Can I redeem part of my rewards? If I'm able to redeem 10,000 hex, should I redeem all at once, or can I redeem 10 times 1,000 hex? No. So when you redeem per token, so here, let's pull up the other screen. Let me answer that question. When you redeem, wait, let me share. So when you redeem here in this function and you run claim rewards, notice that you don't put in an amount. That's because it just gives you all the claimable amount that you're eligible for in that period. So you can't like claim part of the hex for that period, for that stakes period that you are claiming from. It's all or nothing. But if you had numerous stakes, you'd be claiming those individually. Can you explain future mint and redemption rates for pools? Yeah. So let's pull up the other screen. So I'll actually show that in this other page on the. So yeah, right here. So here for this example, we have the base stake, 365 days, 150 million principal, 8,400 shares. And then we say that the total earnings for that 150 million 1-year stake is going to be 19 million hex. Then when we add 19 million plus 150 million, and then divide that by the 150 million, the new redemption rate would be 1.12. So that means that on the second year of the base stake, in order to mint one base, you need 1.122 hex. And similarly, like at the end of the first trio stake, in order to get one trio, you need 1.48 hex. And so, but then it repeats. So even, so people don't need to feel like they missed out, because yeah, if they had minted in the first year, they would have ratcheted up by that amount. But if they had just staked on their own, then it would have been, right there. But even you can't really compare yourself to people that minted earlier, because like the year-on-year growth is the same. Like whether you, so even though you're minting at a worse rate, it's like the whole redemption rate is to ensure that like the percent that you contribute is based on the percent of the total. And so if you were to contribute at this new rate, that's just to account for the all of the hex that was already minted into the pool, and then to include yours. In order for them to equate in value, it needs to be scaled by that redemption rate. And so what that means is that after year one base is redeemable for 1.122 hex, or 1.122 hex is mintable into one base. So that's how the redemption rates work. Any timeline when you think team token will be swapped for hex? Team token will be swapped from. So I've been talking to the auditors. The audits should be done by the first date quote I got was the 28th. So depending on, but who knows, that could always be extended. And if they suggest things need to get done, then it will. But that was what they said. They said that they could be done with the audit on the 28th. But I'm actually talking to two different auditors right now, so we'll see. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna I do need to get off the stream here in about maybe 25 minutes. So we're gonna go ham and we're gonna build our calculator on our team staking dashboard. So here. Wait, what screen are you looking at? Okay. Okay, so here we are. We are going to build in a calculator. So what I'm just going to do actually is we're going to do this, and then so what we need to put on this is we're going to have let's just make this. So we're going to have what info are we gonna collect from a user? We're gonna do pool principal. We're going to do. We're gonna add a drop down menu for which pool. So base, trio, lucky, deci. So, and then we're gonna have an entry box for pool principal. So text box principal. We are going to have a text box for so here we're going to do one for days, text box, not days, daily payout. We're going to get a text box for what else? What else did we say needed to be? Payout per T-share, principal. So here, let's just start with the top of line, just like the total earnings earned by the team contract. So let's just start there just to get the calculation started. So pool principal, and then let's add some more labels in here. So label 2, so that's going to be average daily payout per payout during stake. And then, so we'll just start there with those guys. Let's add a title here. Team earnings calculator. Yeah, like a let's just so let's start with we're gonna come in here, we're gonna make a function called calculate. And then that's going to be a function of the so days payout and then principal. And so what did we say that the equation is? It's going to be staked times payout times that value. So so we know that we need to get the BPB principal, the BPB effective. And so that is going to be principal times okay, so principal times, so it's principal over 10 if principal is less than, if principal is greater than 150, 123, else it's going to be principal squared. It's going to be principal squared divided by 10 times 150, 123. So is that right? So let's check our principal squared divided by 10 times 150 if it's less than, and principal divided by 10 if it's greater than. And so now our total earnings are going to be days staked times average payout. So days times payout times BPB effective divided by 2 times, what did we say, the share rate? So what is the share rate today? Current share rate is 23195. So let's just keep that a constant now, because what we're just this for now, we'll just assume that the current this is for the first one of each pool. So what do we say? 23195, 235, and then we're going to return total earnings. So now we need to make a function that we're going to run anytime something changes. So every time that this changes, here, let's do this. So anytime it's changed, we're going to call recalculate. Okay. And then we're going to apply that event to all of these changes. So if any of these values change, we're going to recalculate. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to add. So for the base stake, so for this, we're actually going to set these up differently. So the placeholder is going to be, so on launch, we're going to say that self.dropdown1.items equals, it's going to be a list, and it's going to be, what was it? So base 365 trio 3 times 365 lucky 7 times 365 C. Okay, so we have those drop down, and then we're going to say that self dot. We're going to say self dot drop down 1.items equals dot selected value equals let's see what here. We'll just see what it does. Actually, here's what we're going to do. So we're going to define the pools. So self.pools equals. Base is going to be like that. Trio is going to be that. E is going to be that. C is going to be that. So these are our pools: base, trio, lucky, deci, and we're just going to grade. We're just going to leave those as our. So let's put the item in here: base, trio, lucky, deci, and first one will be base. Pool principal. What should the initial pool principal be? So let's just come up with a default value. So let's say 150 million. It's always going to be a number. And then the payout per T share is also going to be a number. And let's say that the first one is going to be 6.22. So now let's just, we need to apply, did we apply that to everyone? Recalculate. Yep. So on recalculate, we need to get, so earnings equals calculate days. It's going to be self.pools of self.dropdown1.selected value. So that's days. The payout is going to be self. It's going to be, we're going to give it the float of self.text box daily payout text. And then for the principal, we're going to do self.text box principal text. Make sure that's a float so we can. Okay, so, and then we're just going to do we're gonna actually here we'll see what errors come up and we'll manage that. And then we're going to put in results here. Label earnings. Okay, so now we're going to say that self.label earnings text equals earnings. And then let's also just make it run as soon as we define these pools. We're going to do self.recalculate. See if that runs. Oh, wait, nope. So let's just drag this on to this. Let's see. There may be people. I shouldn't have done this on prod. I should have done this on a. Should I do it on a different one? No, fuck it. We are going to say, just so we don't disrupt anyone who may be minting on testnet right now, we are going to say try self.add component, self.add component from calculator pay, or what did we call that? Earning calculator? Yeah, earning calculator, import earning calculator. And then we are going to add the earning calculator. So let's just see. We wrapped it in that try except just to not disturb anybody that may be okay, it must have thrown an error. So let's do except exception as E if debug in get URL hash. So only if we're in this development environment, we're going to raise E. Let's see what error we got on earning calculator. Okay, there it is. So there we go. It just worked. And let's see if those are consistent with what we, so for Trio for 150 million, we would expect that to be 732. Wait, no. So on our other calculator, we expect 734 on base, Trio 219, Trio 219, Lucky. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what's cool about this is you can use the up and down button to increment and decrement it. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it must handle having nothing there. What happens when you paste? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, that's how you can estimate the team earnings calculator. You can just enter the pool. So let's make this a little bit more descriptive here. We're going to say total team earnings for a single pool stake. So that's important because this is only for one stake. So here, let's add our, we're also going to add, we'll go ahead and do the total, we'll do the estimates on the per team. So percent MAXI minted, and that's going to be a text box. And then this is going to be percent of team staked during end stake year. And then I give this a text box as well. So text box 1 is going to be MAXI minted. And this one is going to be team staked. And then we're going to add a new. So earnings per team staked from single pool label earnings, and then label 9 is going to be label 9 earnings per team. Okay, so now we're going to say total earnings is going to be that, and now we're going to say if earnings per team staked, and we're going to do it's going to be total. So we're just going to say total earnings, and then we're going to say percent MAXI, and then we're going to say percent team staked. So now we say that total supply equals percent MAXI times 294,330,316. Total team supply is going to be that times 2. The percent team staked is going to be what it is. So number of team staked equals total supply times percent team staked. Okay. And then, so then that would mean that we're going to return total earnings divided by number of team staked. So now we have self.label earnings per team equals earnings per team staked as a function of earnings. We're going to do float of percent MAXI. So divided by 100. And then float of self.textbox team staked divided by 100. So percent MAXI, so self.label or self.textbox minted text. Textbox team staked.text. Okay, now let's see what. And then we know that let's change this number to a number, change it to a number, percent MAXI minted. Let's put that at, I don't know, say 20%, and then percent of team stake, let's put that at 30%. So let's add a Okay, let's do the same thing there just to make it a little bit nicer. Okay, let's see what happens. So we're closing in. We have one more day to mint your team into MAXI, or mint your MAXI from your team. Okay, didn't raise an error, so okay, so looks like it's displaying. Now let us go to it, and we need to add that event handler for change. We're going to say recalculate. Recalculate. Okay, so does that make sense? So if 20% and 30, let's compare the numbers on our other spreadsheet. So if that's 20% and 30, that puts it at hex per team staked on the base ticket 0.0208, 0.0207. Okay, so something's a little, oh, it's just probably the share rate. So yeah, there we go. We have this nice little calculator now. Look at that. So why don't we, where should we put that? Should we just make it its own page? Yeah, let's just go ahead and make that its own page. So let's just go close this out. So rather than just adding it on there, we're going to put up a copy a link that says link earnings calculator. And then that's going to say earnings calculator. And then what icon should we give it? I mean, I know there is is there an abacus? That'd be cool. Yeah, we'll do table. So earnings calculator, and when earnings calculator is clicked, we are going to say, we're actually going to make it a menu click item. So if E equals earnings calculator, self.content panel clear, we're going to say self.contentpanel.add component earnings calculator. Oh, we need to actually import it everywhere. So that's got to be up here. So I think that's it. Oh yeah, we need to give this one the menu click. Let's run it. Let's see if it works. Nice, look at that. Okay, we should probably add a hex. This will be the last thing I do because I do have to hop off here. Let's add a hex icon. So let's find a hex logo. Save image as. Okay. Let's add as a on label earnings. Let's upload an icon. Yup. Yup. All right, there we go. So why don't you, if you're in the chat, why don't you go to the team maximus.anvil.app to try the calculator. Constantine asked, have you spoken to Richard about your ecosystem? If not, why? No, I really haven't spoken to him, honestly, really ever. We have some DMs from like way back, just kind of like chatting a little bit, but never really talked to him about it. You know, I mean, kind of what's there to say. But yeah, I mean, he has said he has named it before and said good things about it. So I think he has positive outlook on it. So yeah, I'd be happy to talk to him about it, but I just haven't, you know, I'm here talking to you guys. I'm not, you know, talking to him. Constantine says, I didn't anticipate I'd like to watch a guy create a calculator on YouTube. That's funny. If my kid knew math could land him on YouTube teaching financial literacy, that would set him up for generational wealth. I'm confident he'd pay closer attention. Yeah, I mean, you know, I've always loved math. I mean, like from when I was a tiny child, I would just play with math books. I remember, it's funny, on long road trips, my dad used to just give me a calculator. He used to play with the calculator. So I've always kind of, you know, and both my parents are you know, scientists. So that's kind of what I was growing up to be. I'm pasting a link to this video every time someone moans wind pulse chains. It's mind bending thinking what's going on into that. Yeah, seriously. I think I need to meet my team. Oxil says nice, thanks for the stream. All right. Yeah, I think we covered a lot of really good information here. Let's see if we got here. Let's tweet about this and then we're gonna hop off. So Let's make sure that it works on the team Maximus app. All right. I mean, that's, you know what? Well, I think this is good. So just make sure it all works. Okay, the percentages work. All right. I think that's all we're going to do. So let's go ahead and tweet this out, tweet the link. So let's take a screenshot of this. We'll tweet this out. All right, we're tweeting it out. So today on stream, we built a calculator on the team testnet site, team.maximus.app, to estimate team stake or earnings from each of the perpetual pools. Go try it out. Just as in Hex, in Team, bigger pools pay better. All right, do you have any last questions? App has experienced an issue. What was the issue? Keto Natural says works great. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Crypto Streets is a great stream. Thanks for going over this and for your transparency. Yeah, I have a lot of fun doing this. Thanks. What's the link to the calculator? Never mind. Oh, you found it. All right, guys. I'm gonna hop off here. Great job, everybody. We'll have to do this again soon. And until then, we'll talk to you later.